And hopefully if other people come in, Brian, can you see the list of, because I've got my screen shared, I can no longer see. Can either Brian or Katja see if anybody's coming in to let them in, please? Okay, wonderful.
We'll keep an eye on that for you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, welcome everyone to our October 2023 community update. The focus of this month's community update is the new 2023-2028 strategic plan. Oh, wait, I should turn this into a slideshow. It would look nicer, wouldn't it? All right, so as we have becoming our habit in our community update meetings, if you could rename yourselves with your club name so that we know who you are, that would be great. Also, we invite you, if you have questions, to type them into the chat. If they are immediately answerable and relevant, we'll do that right away. But we have reserved half of the time of this presentation for questions at the end. So I think it's better to leave them for the end if that's possible, but just throw them into the chat as they come up. As you know, this meeting's recorded, and when we're finished, we will link this to the website and send it out in the WhatsApp chat. On the call tonight is myself, Stephanie Marler. I think I've met most of you already. I've been in the role as Executive Director since June 1st. On the call as well, we have Katja Mathis, the Coach and Officials Development Coordinator for Cross Country Ski Ontario, Brian Dubois, the Technical Director, Jennifer Neeson, our Paranordic Lead, sends her regrets tonight. And we have Dwayne Barber, Chairman of the board, with us as well. Our agenda tonight is we're going to review watch the strategic plan video. If you haven't had a chance to do that yet, you'll get a chance to tonight. If you already have, it'll be a refresher. It's just a really nice overview. We'll talk about the process of how we got to the strategic plan that's in front of us today, an overview of the plan, and then we'll go into the pillars, the community, the excellence, and the leadership pillars into a little bit more detail, and then field your questions. I'm going to invite Dwayne Barber, our chair, to have some opening remarks.
Thanks, Stephanie. So our last strategic plan was dated in 2016. We had an extension through COVID, so clearly a lot of things have changed. It's been a lot of water under the bridge since 2016. Stephanie will share with you our process. The staff and the board has been working hard developing this new strategic plan. We're pretty excited by this document, and we look forward to sharing it with you this evening, and look forward to enacting it within the next 5 years.
Super. Thanks, Dwayne. I'm just going to share my screen again, and we can watch the video. For those of you that were at the coach conference this weekend, fingers crossed that I do a better job of this tonight. Together we build community. Together we enable excellence. Together we lead. For our province to reach its greatest potential in cross-country skiing, we must take action together towards our shared vision of supporting the development and enjoyment of cross-country skiing for everyone, from the recreational skier to those pursuing competitive excellence. Cross Country Ski Ontario is embarking on an ambitious 5-year plan to build a stronger community of skiers by cultivating a diverse community and supporting a safe and inclusive environment. By strengthening capacity, governance, and systems to better support clubs and participants. By developing programs to ensure that Ontario's athletes, coaches, volunteers, wax technicians, and event hosts are consistently recognized as among the best in Canada. Cross Country Ski Ontario lives by its values. We collaborate, we connect, we listen. We are focused on members' needs, we live safe sport, and we have fun. We, as a community of skiers, have the power to achieve these goals. By changing the conversation and living by our shared values, we can create a culture of inclusion and excellence, allowing each of us to find fulfillment and success. Join the conversation. Learn more about Cross Country Ski Ontario's 2023-2028 strategic plan and its ambitious goals and targets.
Winter song, winter long, but I'm doing all right.
Oh, this happened last time. Jayla, turn that off. Okay, great. I succeeded. All right, let's go back to the presentation. There we go. Don't need the sound. Share. So there you have it. That was our video. We struggled this weekend to show it, so I'm excited that that worked. I'm going to take a few minutes now to talk about the process and how we got to putting together that strategic plan. If any of you are interested in, I don't really like it when people follow along, but I did drop the link for the place on the website where the strategic plan is in the chat. Either, you can follow along a little bit there, although we don't follow it directly, or you can have the link there for after, so you know where to find it. Oh my goodness. Sorry, everyone. God. Okay, here we go. Next slide. Okay, so we listen. That's one of the value-based behaviors that we introduced in the strategic plan and in that video. So let's talk about how we got to the strategic plan. From January to May, Cross Country Ski Ontario engaged in a consultation period where there were member surveys that went out, there were some focus groups, and then all that information was gathered back, and 5 themes emerged from that information that we gained. So one of them was that, as you can see in our mission statement, just let Jason in, as you can see from the mission statement, we focus on the recreational skiers to those pursuing competitive excellence. And there was a feeling that we needed to do a better job at engaging our recreational skiers that make up. We have 20,000 members in Cross Country Ski Ontario, and we know that not all 20,000 of those members are engaged in high performance activities. The other thing that came out in a theme is that we need to improve our high performance results. And so we hope that our strategic plan will address some of the gaps that we've identified in our programming. Another thing that came up that was interesting to me and all of us was that our communication was good and bad. So the communication that the members that engaged directly with Cross Country Ski Ontario was deemed to be excellent. Good response to emails, good details, good supports for clubs that are reaching out for it, but that our general communication to the public and to our members could be improved. And so we're working on that as well. Other feedback was that clubs wanted to feel more supported with possibly some menu-based approach to services. You'll see when we get a little further that we're going to be addressing that in our strategic plan. And then last but not least, as we know, we are very heavily volunteer, a very heavy volunteer community, and that as an organization and as member clubs, we need to find better ways to recognize our volunteers. So with all that information, we met at the board annual general meeting and strategic planning conference in May. Included were some board members, coaches, employees, officials, volunteers. I was reflecting this weekend that next time we do this, we would probably hope to have more athletes at that strategic planning session. But we had a great weekend, lots of great information, lots of good energy. And then we came home from that, and I started on June 1st Thank goodness that Liz stayed on board for more than just a day or two, and she and I, with the staff, spent the better part of the month of June writing the strategic plan. It was approved by the board at the end of June. And then the staff team spent the summer developing an operational plan to support the strategic plan. And here we are now with our strategic plan launch. We would have liked to done it a little bit earlier, but of course we have safe sport on our plates right now as well. So there's the cover of our strategic plan. And then, so as we heard in the video, we have 3 strategic pillars: community, excellence, and leadership. And that we really focused in the development of the strategic plan on our value-based behaviors. We collaborate, we connect, we listen, we focus on our members' needs, we live safe sport, and we have fun. So what we're going to do now is we're going to break this up a little bit, and Katja is going to introduce the community pillar to us.
Thank you, Stephanie, and good evening, everyone. Community pillar. So you probably quickly saw in the video that we have a calendar for the 5 years of our implementation of the strategic plan. And just to quickly go back to the different colors. So red is priority execution. So you'll see that the communications that Stephanie alluded to is a priority for this year and next year. And then, as you know, Safe Sport, we're heavily working on that with everyone in the community. And then for the following years from 25 to 27, the pink color is that we maintain what we implemented, review, and revise. And then for the third part of the community pillar, membership growth and retention, we're basically planning and resourcing. So that's the gray area at this point, but then prioritize it starting next year, because we can't do it all at once. And the 5 of us, including our chair, who is supporting us tremendously, can't do it all and not all at once. So we're definitely engaging the community in this implementation. So for the community pillar, we have 2 goals. One is to cultivate a diverse and inclusive community of skiers. And then the second goal is to support a safe and inclusive culture within cross-country skiing. And so we basically then kind of dive into that and recognize some key objectives to sort of support those overall goals so that we can reach them. And we identified 3 objectives. One is to raise the profile of cross-country skiing to grow and retain membership. The second one is to inform and engage membership through frequent and effective communication that profiles both recreational and competitive skiing. And the third one is that members believe that the sport is safe and inclusive. So to then put activities to those objectives, so we kind of go a little bit deeper with every level. Here are some key activities, and I'm not going to just read it all, but one of them, for example, is develop, resource, and implement a communication plan. So we're working on that as we speak. You know that we're started with the Safe Sport policies and promote and support inclusion initiatives. So there's quite a lot of key activities. And Stephanie, on the next slide, then we basically, in the operational plan, we came up with initiatives that were tying into these objectives and goals. So I've put in the goals that these initiatives refer to, and I know there's a lot of writing on here, so I'm just going to highlight the ones in bold. And one of them is the World Snow Day celebration, and we want to make sure that we make this a province, if not nationwide event. We've kind of tried it a little bit I think it was a couple of years ago, and it sort of, I guess that we actually had a celebration at the O Cup that then was cancelled due to cold, so didn't quite work out as planned. So I actually have a meeting with Nordic Canada tomorrow to see if we can come up with an idea that would be celebrated across the country. So I'm very hopeful that that is going to happen. Another one is number 3. We talked about funding and grants that every club is looking for, whether it's to pay coaches or to pay for a groomer. And so we are working on putting that all together as a resource on our website so that not every club has to go digging and looking, but we're trying to come up with as many grants as possible, have them listed and have the timelines, etc. on it, and keep it updated so that that's easy to find for clubs. Then another example is the Paranordic Equipment Rental Program. So as most of you probably know, we were fortunate to get a Canadian Tire grant last year, or I think John Cowan was very instrumental with this. I think it was last year into early this year when we finally got the equipment. And so we do have that now, and we want to make sure that it's accessible for anybody who would like to use the equipment and reach out. We're working very hard on the Paranordic program so that it's easier for clubs to start a Paranordic program. So that rental program just goes along with it. And then again, the other one is the Safe Sport Policy Suite that we're definitely working. Every one of us is working hard on that. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Katja. I'll now invite Brian to talk to us about the excellence pillar.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie. And thank you, everyone, for being here tonight to inform yourself about our new strategic plan. I'd just like to lead off with a few comments about the guiding perspectives that are underlying the excellence pillar. So I'm using words like rugged flexibility. So thinking about a healthy change mindset as we move forward, commitment and performance environments, and performance enabling relationships and partnerships. So these are all things that are very, very important to us as we do our work. And the excellence pillar actually, it permeates all of the work that we do. So we are focused on excellence. Excellence is the word that we are using. And yeah, next slide, please. So there are 3 main goals under the excellence pillar. We're looking to work on coach development. We're looking to work on our daily training environments, and we're also looking to make improvements on our performance pathway. So out of those 3 goals, I'd just like to highlight a few objectives that we are focusing on. The research is overwhelming that we need to start to improve the daily training environments of our athletes if we expect to see performance. So that is an area of work that we are going to focus on very much, in addition to some of the other things that we've been doing over the past few years. So we'll continue to try to provide opportunities to expose our athletes to high performance environments. We are still focused very much on fun and fair events. And we are absolutely focused on moving people ahead by providing professional development and mentorship opportunities. We are also very interested in starting to infuse our Paralympic stream athletes into our Olympic stream programming. And if Jen was here tonight, I would invite her to speak about her experiences at this year's OGST camp in the summer. This is one of the first camps that we've run where we've had para-Nordic athletes training and eating and living alongside of our Olympic stream athletes, and the feedback from that has been overwhelmingly positive. So that is something that we're looking to continue as well. Ontario has supported key selection races in the past, but this marks a return to supporting Ontario athletes at events that are key towards making select teams. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to throw a link in the chat to our program document, because that is where we find most of the details surrounding our new initiatives. And so I just want to highlight a few of these. The Ontario Club Excellence Framework. This is a pilot project this year where we hope to partner with a few clubs and help them move ahead with their daily training environment, form a partnership in thinking about and learning about how to structure clubs and club training, and with the overall objective of raising the daily and training environment. The second one is the XCSO Excellent Camps. There was, over the past few years, an attempt to run district camps, and I think we've done a fairly good job at bringing people together in a district camp sort of format. I would like to strengthen and expand this to camps that involve our high performance athletes, rubbing elbows with our developmental athletes, so that our younger athletes can hear the stories of success of our older athletes. They can start to see what it's like to be a high performance athlete, and they can learn and grow and have fun together. And so this is something that we're going to start to put in place for next season. Our Team Ontario program is largely unchanged, although we have started to think very deeply about how to accommodate our athletes who are progressing, and the balance between O-Cup attendance and the need to attend other events that they are working towards. So yeah, lots to unpack here, and I invite you to look at the document in whole, and there'll be some time for questions later on tonight if you have them, or you can always reach me by email.
Great, thank you, Brian. So the leadership pillar, as you saw in the video and as we have in front of us today, we have a leadership pillar with several key objectives. I would like to, though, move a little bit away from the presentation that I did last week, because this weekend we had the first, for many years, annual coach conference. And I'd like to talk a little bit about, well, not about the conference, but about some of the leadership things that came up at the conference and at a high level, and then we can dig into this. And one of the things that I experienced at that conference was an unbelievable amount of trust and authenticity. Brian gave a very interesting and solid presentation on Sunday morning about authentic communication, and everybody in the room wished we'd had 3 or 4 more hours to continue with the work that we all want to do in that sphere. And then on the way home today, I was listening to a podcast by Sport Law, and many things in that podcast rang true of what we experienced at the coach conference this weekend. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit under the leadership pillar. And the title of the podcast was Going at the Speed of Trust. And I was very intrigued by that title. And what they're talking about in there is that you can only move as fast in an organization as you have a level of trust. So the higher the level of trust that you have in an organization, the more you can move forward with your strategic goals, with your plans, because everybody's on board and moving the same way. And if you're in an environment where you don't have trust or where everything's being second guessed, then it's really hard to move forward. And I was so excited to see the level of trust and authenticity that we had in that at our weekend in Kawartha. And I hope that through this communication, through these community updates, through the real efforts to be transparent and authentic in our communication, that we have and can continue to develop the trust so that we can move at a faster pace through some of the goals that we have. Some of the key drivers of trust are absolutely addressed in this leadership pillar. And I didn't listen to the podcast before Liz and I worked on this. And it's just very interesting to me. So one of the key drivers of trust is to modernize governance. And as you can see, one of the objectives in our leadership pillar is governance review. And what do we mean by modernizing governance? We are in a very different environment in sport than we were 20 years ago, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. We're in an environment where we are professionalizing our coaching. We're in an environment where our board of directors are being asked to take on a lot more responsibility than they ever have. And as an organization, Cross Country Ski Ontario, and as organizations, our clubs need to modernize their governance. And we want to be there to help support and move that forward through these calls, through communication, through finding and making available good seminars and resources for our club administrators so that they can move forward with good governance. Another key driver of trust is to truly invest in human development. We're all humans, and we're here because we love our sport, and we all want to be seen, heard, and valued. And one of the things that I'm really excited about in our team excellence programs that you'll see, it's a subtle shift, but it's very real, is that our team excellence program or Ontario excellence programs are not athlete-centered anymore. They are focused on building system capacity so that our system can then go forward to support the athletes in the pursuit of excellence, to support the coaches in the pursuit of excellence, and to support the volunteers, the race hosts in the pursuit of excellence. So although front and center of our excellence programs will still continue to be on the outside, the athletes, the real focus of that program and that of the programs is on investing in human development and capacity in our sport. Another key driver of trust that comes out of that is to give people the capacity to lead. And so the more training, the more opportunities, the more mentorship that we can give our coaches and our volunteers, the more they'll feel confident and leading, and we'll have more leadership capacity within our sport. And then the last one, which I've already mentioned, and Brian really helped us all to understand it this weekend, is authentic communication. And I hope you all feel that when you're speaking to us, we are being authentic in our communication. And the higher level of trust that we experience as a community, the more authentic, real, and honest our communication can be. And that's the best way to move forward. And then I think the last part, and Brian talked about it this weekend, but it's a key driver of trust, is that we walk the walk. We walk the talk with respect to our values. And we talked about value-based behaviors. We collaborate, we connect, we listen, we focus on our members' needs, we live safe sport, and we have fun. And I hope that our community can see that we really are trying to walk the talk, and we're trying to impart those values on our community as well, because we're all in this together. So I've gone completely on a tangent from my leadership pillar slides, but I hope that kind of is I think it's a much better summary of what it is that we're trying to do with our strategic plan than what I actually have written in these slides from last week's presentations, but it's still here. But to give just a little bit of a taster on some of the examples of leadership initiatives in progress, one of them, of course, is we need to focus on funding. funding is a big deal. We have this feeling in our excellence programs, for example, it was mentioned in a theme in the surveys, is that Ontario is not performing the way it used to be. And I like to look at it a little bit differently, and it's that, and I said it this weekend, so anybody on the call, you'll hear this again, is that instead of saying that we're doing poorly, why don't we say that Quebec and British Columbia have raised the bar? And what we need to do is we need to raise our bar to join them, rather than worrying about whether we're good or bad. Let's just be better. And one of the things that both Quebec and British Columbia have that we don't have is an incredible amount of funding. We have good base funding, but they have an awful lot more money than we do. So one of the key parts of this leadership pillar is to make sure that we have the capacity to support our clubs and our programs, and that requires money. So we have increased, which is exciting, funding through the Canadian Sport Institute for our high performance piece, and that is a result of our results and as well as our Paranordic programming. So that's really exciting. We and all provincial sport associations are still waiting on our provincial government to tell us what our base funding is. There's not one provincial sport association in the province, under my understanding, that knows what their base funding is. So we're hoping with bated breath that it's more than it was last time. Every time a grant that looks appropriate comes across our desk, we apply for it. And we're in the process of updating our sponsorship package to go out on an aggressive campaign to raise funds. Another area in the leadership, examples of initiatives in progress, is we formed a new youth advisory committee. Cross Country Ski Ontario now has 3 subcommittees. They have the High Performance Committee, the Paranordic Committee, and now the Youth Committee. I'm very excited about the Youth Committee. What I'm most excited about in the Youth Committee is the chair of the Youth Committee is Megan Richardson. Megan is, I think, in her early to mid 20s. She has incredible enthusiasm and has a ski coach, a volunteer. She's very engaged in the Northern Ontario district community and now in our community as a whole. And her enthusiasm and the ideas that she has just is showing us that, you know, we do have young people in this sport that want to take on leadership roles, and that's really exciting. The key thing that we talked about in that committee that is going to be the main focus of our next meeting is retention and not recruitment so much, but retention of athletes and skiers from between the ages of 13 and 18, because we know at 13 years old, they start to drop off. The other thing that we're doing is developing club resources. Ray, thank you. You can see it's right there in my slide. He gave me a name for it. It was our 101 series. It'll be, so when you land on the website in the insurance section, I can't promise this for tomorrow, but we're working on trying to make it easier for club administrators when they go on there to understand what needs to happen. As we have more turnover in our clubs and on our boards, we need to make it easier for them to get off and running quickly. A quiet leadership. Some of you I've spoken to, so you know, because we get into the nitty gritty of some of the policies, but there's quite a bit of quiet leadership that goes on. Nordic Canada is delivering new policies by the day, it seems, but we are given an opportunity to provide feedback, and we do. Katja and I spent, and I know Katja and Liz, before I joined in June, had done this as well, spent hours trying to make sure that the Pan-Canadian Safe Sport Policy Suite was as easy to implement. I don't laugh at that, but anyway, as possible. We're still working on certain areas of it to try to make some of the requirements easier to implement. And so I truly believe that through that kind of work, we're helping not just our division, but other divisions, the other provinces, so that the policies they're being seen from the point of view of the provinces and a club administrator, not just from the top down. And the other part as well is volunteer training and recognition. We have officials and coach mentorship programs that are back on track after COVID, which is fantastic. If you've had a chance to read the monthly newsletter, you'll see that we are profiling volunteers. as well as athletes in there, and trying to just showcase who our community really is. The October newsletter profiled 3 volunteers. 2 of them were quite young, which was great. One was a nudist skiing individual from Canada Nordic. So it's just who are our 20,000 members? We'd like to know. And of course, we're looking at ways to help clubs provide ourselves and clubs to see, hear, and recognize our very valuable, invaluable, I guess, volunteers, because we can't be successful without them. So just to conclude, we have ambitious goals and targets in the strategic plan. If you take the time to go and read it, you'll see we haven't addressed them here, but there are very measurable targets in it. You'll see where we're trying to go with those things. In the video, we said, together we build community, together we enable excellence, and together we lead. And I think that's a really key message, because the 4 of us as staff of Cross Country Ski Ontario, we cannot achieve this strategic plan on our own. We need to be a community. We need to be on board together. And I do hope that through the communication, the authentic communication, and hopefully thorough communication that we're providing to our clubs, that we are going to be able to build trust and to be able to go at a speed that's greater than when we don't have trust, to move towards achieving the goals and targets set out in the strategic plan. So we all really believe that, you know, Katya and Brian and Jen, I'm getting to know them. It's been 5 months now. It's a very collaborative and engaged group of individuals. And those of you who know them know that we have a really amazing team at XCSO, and we're here for you. And so please continue to ask us questions, push us hard to make sure that we're responding, and that we can work together with you as partners, so that everybody can achieve success, and whatever that looks like for them. And that is the end of the formal part of the presentation. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can see people's faces. We'll turn the floor over to you. Do you have any questions, comments, feedback? And then maybe once we get through that part, if we have any questions, comments, or feedback about the strategic plan after, if there's time, if you have any other questions, we can address those as well. Never know whether it's a good thing that there are no questions, comments, or feedback. Jolene.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I'm sorry, it's really dark. I don't really, I'm feeling a little bit full from the weekend, so I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to acknowledge everybody and your hard work. And I'm excited to, to get to know everybody and be a bigger part of everything.
Super. Thank you, Jolene. Any other questions or comments, feedback?
Hey, Stephanie.
Yes. Hi,
thanks a
Ray.
lot for the, this is great info. A couple of questions. So the first one, the Youth Council. Liam is sitting here in the room with me as well.
Oh, hi, Liam.
Hello. The Youth Council, we haven't read through the strategic plan, so it's the first time we're hearing it. But you did mention someone who was leading it. Who else is that council composed of?
So the way,
or how are you drawing people to the council, the council?
Right. So the way the committee, so it's a new committee. So we're starting in a structured way, like our other committees. So right now we have one representative from each district, a club representative from each district. One thing that came up after the meeting was that the 4 clubs that are represented in each district are fairly large clubs that have fully functioning youth programs with of course, challenges, because we all have challenges. So the next step is to invite some of the smaller clubs to be part of that group as well. And then I think once we get settled, of course, it would be good to have some youth on that, with Liam sitting beside you, but to have some youth on that committee. The focus of that committee is, it's not focused on excellence in racing, but it's not focused on excellence in racing. It's more focused on, like, how do we engage those young skiers, athletes that are in our system that are looking for something more than racing? How do we keep them in the system? How do we engage them? So that is the current makeup of that committee right now. That's how the XCSO committees work. We're a district-based organization. So anybody from any district that's interested can either reach out to me or to Megan or to their district chair or their district youth chair, because each of them has that. Does that answer your question, Ray?
Yeah, great, thanks.
Yeah, you said you had more than one question.
Hey, kind of related, kind of maybe high performance, and you can defer this question if it's not appropriate right now.
Of course.
So we had heard some discussion about CISO looking to build a winter sports facility in Southern Ontario. Like Horseshoe was one of the areas that were that was discussed. Any movement, any update on where that stands?
My answer to that is I had heard that too. I haven't heard of any movement or update. Brian, have you?
Yeah, Ray, I'm certainly aware of that intention from the CSIO, and I have not heard of any movement in any such way. There was a question asked of XCSO if we would, or why don't we hold training camps at Horseshoe Valley, and I suspect it was sort of related somehow to their project, but I don't know where they're at.
Do we have a point person from XCSO on this, or like how are we approaching this as a provincial PSO? I obviously have a very interested, from being from SOD, I have a very interested piece in it, but obviously, so I don't know where XCSO stands in either lobbying for this to happen or where we stand.
Yeah, so just through my involvement with the high performance committee prior to this role, I know that Jack Sassville was at that table. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's a good question, Ray, and we'll put it on our radar and follow up.
Okay, I mean, Ray, to be honest, when I was asked about training camps in Horseshoe, I was very direct about asking where we were at with that project, and I did not receive an answer, so it deserves some follow-up.
Okay, great. Hey, last comment. I said this to Stephanie there last week when we were last week when we were chatting. I think these community updates and the newsletter is great. Yeah, great to get information about XCSO out to clubs. So like 100% support this.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other questions or comments related to the strategic plan or anything else? All right, so next month's community update is going to be not as focused on one thing. We're going to take some time to go through some of the new policies that have come out from Nordic Canada. And I also anticipate that we'll end up talking about the Safe Sport Policy Suite a little bit in that meeting, because I know that the clubs are in the process of implementation and moving forward with that. So the next community update meetings, I think we've set the dates, but we'll make sure that they're clear on the website. They actually are on the website. Will be about policy discussions. And I know that we'll make sure that, the policies have actually been circulated on our WhatsApp line. And they will also be circulated. We've got a monthly newsletter, which is the colorful, fun thing profiling our community. Also, we've only done it once, so it's not a regular thing yet, but I intend to send an email to club administrators once a month, even if it has nothing to say other than hi. But I already have a long list of things in the November update. So newsletter, so you'll get, not the newsletter, sorry, the email to club administrators. So you'll have the policies that we're going to be talking about in the community update in that newsletter, in that email prior to the next meeting. So it'd be great if, I know some people have already gone through some of them with a fine-tooth comb. I already have a laundry list of questions to address, but we're here to answer your questions. And so if there are questions about those policies when we get to our next meeting, please bring them forward for us. Great. I guess the last thing before we go is that I'm not sharing my screen anymore, am I? Hang on a minute. Share screen. We have had some questions from people about what we're sharing on each of our info lines. So we have the new club admin WhatsApp info line, and we have the coach info line. We're trying to keep them, obviously there's overlap, trying to keep them separate in their content. So I invite people to join the admin info line if you haven't already. And if you find it's not relevant to you, well, then you can come off it. What I have been saying to people, though, is you don't need to be part of that, because the information that club administrators need will come out in that monthly email. But this will be more like, hey, don't forget to come to their community update meeting, or there's a new policy that's out, and if you want to be reading it right away. So it's not meant to be the primary source of communication for club administrators. It's meant to be a secondary, more reminder, quick things. But the key information will always come in on the emails. All right, well, that is the conclusion of our October community update. And I look forward to seeing you. Snow's coming, so we're going to start seeing each other in person fairly soon, which is exciting. I get to see Liam in a couple of weeks out in Canmore with the Ontario Junior Ski Team, which is really exciting. And we'll be seeing everybody at some O Cups, hopefully, or on the trails very soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, you
Have a good night.
too.
Thank you.
All right.
Good night. There we go. I just kicked him out.
I was gonna do the same. Remove.
I was like, why are you kicking him out? I'm like, no, don't report him. Good.
Oh,
Well done, team.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are we still recording? Oh
I know
no.
that was good. That podcast